Hi everybody, and welcome to another week of Upon Further Review. My name is Diego Del Barco.
I'm AJ Bellino.
And this week we're going to go and talk a little bit more 49ers after finally getting a win following 4 straight losses and going into a national audience Thursday night matchup against an also 2-4 Seahawks team. Haha, kind of funny. So we're going to spend some time right now just talking about different players from the Niners and what we think about them. Preview a little bit about the Seahawks and go into our predictions. So here we go.
All right, here we go.
All right, let's jump right into it. Last week we kind of skipped talking about Colin Kaepernick, but we're kind of doing it every week. But this week I think it's about time we bring him back in. Let's talk about, Colin, do a little buy or sell. Do you feel like he's come out of his funk at this point?
Okay, buy or sell. Has Cap out of his funk? 2 weeks ago, it would have been an easy question to answer. Not so easy question now. Personally, I buy. Okay. But I buy because there's little things I watch him do when I break him out of the field. There's little things I see. He's not wasting movement with his feet. He's not hanging onto the ball too long most of the time. He's decisive with his reads. And in this last game, he really flashed some of the stuff that we saw in New York that kind of got people's hopes up. Accurate placement on the deep pass. Decisiveness on the deep pass. Identifying the mismatch early and going there. Making sure that he was in a position to deliver the football even when he was under duress. And he was under duress. And some of the throws we're talking about here, extending the play when they'd sell out and bring it on that play action.
The throw to Bolden?
That's exactly right. And, at the end of the day, going against a Baltimore defense that made a concerted effort to get penetration and disrupt the 49er passing game, they did a really, really great job of throwing into pressure.
Okay.
Here comes the blitz. I'm going there with the ball. And there are people, namely Greg Cosell, who was talking about how Cap flourished in one-read scenarios, and he certainly did. But he flourished in multi-read scenarios as well. So I'm buying.
Okay.
How about you?
All right. Definitely seen improvement. So definitely seen improvement. Obviously, you don't have to do a lot of stuff to improve from what you saw during that 2-week stretch. That was really bad. At this point, I'm selling though. Because even though he's shown you a lot of things that give you hope, that make you want to see more of him, he's still making what I call rookie mistakes. Running out of bounds when you don't have anywhere to throw and you're trying to run out the clock instead of taking a sack, to something I would see Marcus Mariota do. Calling a timeout right before a 2-minute warning, when basically wasting a timeout, something I would see Jameis Winston do or Alex Smith do back in the day. And even though he has shown you a lot of good stuff, I'm kind of with Cassell a little bit that you're still seeing simplified offense. Like, as great as the throw to Torrey Smith was for the touchdown when he burned Shareef's right. It was a 2-read. It was a max protect. There was Bolding out on one side, Torrey on the other. He basically was kind of looking Torrey's way the whole time. He looked at Bolding a little bit, but basically it was an easy read. Greatly executed, but it was an easy read. And also, it seems like almost in crunch time, when you need your quarterback to come in and make a play, we still don't trust him. So you're seeing flashes, but you're still not seeing the trust from the coaching staff on him. And again, if you're looking at a guy who's now 27, 28, I still just need to see more from him, because I still need to figure out whether he's my quarterback going forward past this season. And at this point, I'm not able to buy. Like, if that's my question, I'm not able to buy that. So I have to sell him. I hope I can buy, but this is a big test coming up this week.
I agree. It's a big test. I disagree with your selling. We'll just go ahead and leave it at that.
That's why we do it.
So, coming into this season, a lot of people thought the offensive X factor for the 49ers was going to be Carlos Hyde. You know, and heaven knows, you know, game one probably was, right? And then there was talk about how we're going to be this tight end driven offense. But really, what I think is starting to shake out, I think the X factor can be wide receivers. So tell me, in our receiving core, give me a guy you think has the ability to step up and be an X factor.
Okay. Thought about it a lot when we were discussing it. I think I'm going to go with Quentin Patton, number 11. And I'm not necessarily a huge fan of him. I am as far as his play and his performance. I like him coming out of Louisiana Tech, but I'm really scared about his maturity and how he shows his emotion on the field, whether he can control it. However, a lot has been said about his chemistry with Kaepernick and how they work together in the offseason and all that. And I really thought that was really obvious to me on the touchdown play last week, because from what I saw, he was running a slant from the right side. And when he looks back at Kaepernick to see if the ball is coming in, he sees Kaepernick moving to his right. He understands what Kaepernick is going through and what he's trying to do. And so he stops this slant. He breaks it back to the end zone, recognizing where the open space is at. I don't know if any other wide receiver, like, you know, Bruce Ellington, who I would have preferred would have been the number 3 wide receiver, if he would have done that. And so that chemistry that he showed was big in getting that touchdown, which is obviously huge. And then later on at the end of the game on the final drive for the Niners, when Bolden was injured, he looked Patton's way to convert a big I think it was like a 17-yard pass. Now, because we don't have a tight end right now, we don't have Bernard Davis is just nowhere to be found. Derek Carey is kind of coming along a little bit, but he's just not being featured enough. I'm not even going to go into McDonald. We need a third wide receiver to step up in this offense, and so I think we know what we're going to get from Bolden and Torrey Smith, but we need that third guy to be whoever is going to be, whether it's Reggie Bush or tight end. And I think right now Quentin Patton, from what he showed me that day, on last weekend, he could be that X factor.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to stop. I can't agree with you on that, only because for me, that emotional maturity is just not there. He reminds me of Vernon Davis in 2010.
Yeah, I know.
He reminds me of Vernon Davis in 2009.
I own that.
That's not a happy memory for those of you who remember back that far. My X factor is a lot simpler, and really, it's not that deep. My X factor is Torrey Smith, and I'm going to give you something to think about watching this, and you go, Torrey Smith, oh my God, he wasn't even the leading receiver last week. You're right, he was not the leading receiver last week, but guess what he did? He went over the top and completely thrashed a defense that refused to drop a second safety back in that coverage level. So basically, look, the Ravens went one high all day and said, you know what, Cap, we don't believe you can beat us. And Colin Kaepernick was like, well, really? Okay. Super. And he freaking shot-putted a freaking laser. Nice throw. It was a beautiful throw. But the best part about it was he hit him in stride. Yeah. It was really tight coverage. It was a really tight window. He got in there and got it done. Now, when Torrey Smith lifted the lid off that defense, which, by the way, there's not been a receiver in this offense who's consistently been able to do that since T.O. Think about that. T.O. was the last consistent lid lifter on this defense.
2003?
Or on this offense, rather.
2003?
2003.
Yeah.
And so it's been over a decade. So now all of a sudden, you've got a guy who could take opposing defenses yard in one play. You've got a one-play threat. Now, you go one safety high. Guess what? All of a sudden, there's room underneath. And that room underneath, and where I'm going to give Torrey Smith his props, when you saw Patton make that awesome third down catch that he didn't really make in the fourth quarter, but we got the snap off, so it didn't matter. Right. That kind of room is available when you have safeties who are afraid to get too close to the line of scrimmage. That's what you need to look for coming up tomorrow night, or Thursday night, rather.
Thursday.
Tonight. Yeah, whatever. Against the Seahawks. Yeah. You're going to see that. Keep an eye on Torrey Smith.
All right, AJ, let's switch sides now. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Let's put a positive, happy spin on this. Let's talk about some, defensive bright spots maybe give me a player that you think has been a bright spot on the defense.
Well, so the Ravens game, and I'm going to be real selective here when I talk about my bright spot because he's really only been bright so far in one game. Really had outstanding play. I got to go with Navarro Bowman. Now, Navarro Bowman has weathered a bunch of hate, a bunch of people talking about whether or not he's a 3-down linebacker, whether or not he's fast enough to get it done.
The snap count.
Well, exactly. Let's limit his snap count. Let's only have him in on 1st and 2nd down. Okay, well, I got some things I want to throw at you. And here we go. Thing number 1. Navarro Bowman is 2nd in the NFC in tackles. Now, that's saying something. It doesn't mean that he's super effective in coverage, but here's what it does mean. It means that when push comes to shove, he can get it done. Now, on Sunday, in the gap, he was an absolute bruiser. When he was on it, when he was in there.
We're talking in the run game.
Yes. Yeah. He was there all day long. But now let's extend that out a little bit. Where did the Ravens make their noise in the pass game?
Out on the wide receiver, Steve Smith.
Oh, yeah, Steve Smith, huh? So was Navarro Bowman covering Steve Smith?
No, I don't think so. That wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So what you're saying then is that when push came to shove, you could say that he was effective in coverage.
You could say that.
You could say that.
Oh.
There's my bright spot.
Okay.
Navarro Bowman. He's still one of the best linebackers in football, and nothing anyone says, up to and including Grant Cohn, is going to change that.
I'm so upset that you even said that name on the podcast.
I had to give him a shout out. Nobody can call Navarro Bowman a scrub and not get lit up like a Christmas tree.
I know of at least one Canadian citizen who will enjoy that. If you pointed that out.
That's for you, Cerrone.
But anyway, so let's go on my side. I'm gonna just kind of what you did with the X factor on offense. I'm gonna make this a lot simpler.
Sure.
And I'm gonna go out and pick the only guy on the 49ers defense that has a positive grade on Pro Football Focus as far as being an above average player, and that's Aaron Lynch, who, surprise, is basically our best pass rusher by far.
Yep. Sure.
By far. And not only is he continues to be our best pass rusher, but he's also improving his play on the run defense as well. Now, stats-wise, yes, he doesn't have that many sacks. I believe he only has 3 so far this season. But newsflash, nobody in the Niners is getting sacked because you can't be a one-man crew. It's got to be a collective effort.
Exactly.
So he's not getting a lot of help. What he is getting, though, which I had to do a little bit of research to find this out, but SportingCharts.com has a chart of all the pressures that every NFL player has so far this season, and obviously every defensive player. And my boy Lynch ranks 4th in quarterback hurries so far this season with 13. Justin Houston has 20. McPhee from Baltimore has 15. Alden Smith actually has 14. And then 4th is Aaron Lynch with 13. Putting that into further perspective, last season Aaron Lynch only had 17 quarterback hurries all season. So we always talk about sacks aren't the end all be all. A lot of times pressure makes a lot of difference, and he is constantly out there putting pressure on the quarterback. Definitely, for me, the bright spot on the defense.
Awesome. All right, so we got a Thursday night game coming up against the Seattle Seahawks.
Yay.
This is a big one, and over the last couple seasons, there haven't been a whole lot of happy endings for the 49ers against Seattle. Oh. So we're going to go into what we think is going to really kind of affect this matchup. So, Diego, why don't you tell me what you think the biggest aspect of tomorrow's game is?
Well, looking at it from what the Seahawks are going to bring to the table, I think we can both agree that they're just not necessarily the same top team that they have been the last couple of seasons. Obviously, the record will show that, and sometimes the record is not necessarily reflective of how good a team is. I think in this case, 2-4 is a little bit accurate on Seattle, and they still have some good things going for them, but they still definitely have some bad things. I was actually shocked to find out that their offensive line grade on Pro Football Focus is nearly as bad, if not worse, than the Niners' offensive line, just because of the fact that everybody from left to right grades poorly. We at least have, Joe Staley still kind of performing at a, sort of Pro Bowl level, and Alex Boone is actually not doing that great. But everybody on the offensive line is doing bad. And so what that leads to is obviously a lot of sacks for Russell Wilson, who's an elusive quarterback to begin with. And then not great running game, which has a little bit to do with the fact that Marshawn Lynch has been injured. But, I'm not going to complain about that and make excuses for it. If Lynch is going to be ineffective because he's not 100%, I'll take it. But it's just this offense isn't as effective as it's been the past couple of seasons, which coupled with a defense that has been leaky, and I know you're going to go into that, it's not as scary as it has been before. It seems like they're a very beatable team, and the multiple facets of struggle on offense kind of are part of that.
Sure. I see that. And for me, I think the thing that I'm looking for and what I really think this game is going to pivot on, there's a notable absence in Seattle. Someone who's been there for the last few years and really kind of made things interesting for the 49ers on the defensive side of the ball. He's currently the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Defensive coordinator exit stage left, and it looks like defensive effectiveness went with him. This defense, especially the secondary, I am not sold on these guys at all. We had our chat about Kerry Williams not being terribly effective counterpart to Richard Sherman.
No.
I'm going to take that a step further. I said earlier when Cam Chancellor came back and said he needed to be there to help his guys get to another Super Bowl, I chuckled, and what did I say?
Yeah.
He's not in football shape. He's not be ready to play. Didn't have training camp. He's going to be a little rusty. He makes one big hit on a goal line against Calvin Johnson. Everybody thinks he's a Pro Bowler again. Surprise, he's not. When Greg Olsen beats you and you are a Pro Bowl strong safety, and Greg Olsen, how old is he? 35? He played Pop Warner with Jesus. That's how old he is. He's that old. Now, when Greg Olsen beats you badly, when you get posterized by a guy who's getting ready to join the AARP, guess what? You're not that great. This secondary has problems. Richard Sherman is still a top-flight corner. Williams is not. Earl Thomas is still a stud.
He's still a stud.
But again, though, a deep half.
Yeah,
super.
Where's unit?
Right. Hey, where's Thomas at? Super. I'm going to throw the other way. So this defense has become one that you can pick a side of the field and you can throw there. That's going to create mismatches. One mismatch in particular, guy talked about already. If you're going to give me Torrey Smith versus Kerry Williams, I'm taking that all day long. I will pump the ball deep to him all day long. And I think you're going to see that. The 49ers have obviously identified this weakness. I'm just curious to see how they exploit it.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a pretty good time.
I look forward to that. I do.
Well, all right. We've got to the point where it's prediction time. Diego and I are going to tell you what we think is going to happen when the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks square off. So we've got Seattle going to Santa Clara. They are favored by 6.5 points. Diego, give me your thoughts.
I actually did not know that. I didn't know they were favored by 6.5 points. So if it gives me two options here. One, just straight up, I don't think the 49ers will win this game. And we talked about Seattle on both sides and where they struggle and why they might be 2-4. Eventually, it's just about a matchup with the 49ers. And I thought hard about, I really wanted to pick the Niners to win this game, but I just cannot find a single reason why they would be able to pull this off. Obviously, Kaepernick has this huge monkey on his back that, because I'm not buying on him yet. I'm not confident on him being able to, get the monkey off his back when it comes to Seattle. I feel like as bad as Seattle's defense secondary can be, they still have great edge rushers that might be able to feast on our line, which obviously is not good. And then I wonder about even if their offensive line is really bad, whether we actually going to be able to sack the quarterback, because again we don't. So secondary, we have all kinds of questions. They're completely inconsistent. I don't know what to expect. And I just think as a unit, Seattle, even though they're broken in separate places, they're a lot closer at coming together and actually might being able to make something out of this season than we are. I can't pick the Niners to win this game. Obviously, I'm going to be rooting for them, and I hope they do. The flip side to that is I just don't understand how Seattle is a 7-point, favorite on this game. So I would put money on the Niners to beat that spread. I'm just not necessarily going to pick them to win.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go in a different direction. We've already know I'm buying on Cap, seeing the habits finally pay off on the field. I'm buying on Torrey Smith. He's a guy who I think is ideally suited to take advantage of a weakness with the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to give you something else. The Seattle Seahawks definitely have a strength, and it is those edge rushers. They're great at getting off the edges. Not so worried about it against our left tackle. Kind of giving me some acid indigestion against our right tackle. Now, last week, they faced a defense that's got pretty good edge rushers too. They put Colin Kaepernick under center, and they used play action and the threat of the quarterback run to flatten that pass rush out. And when they tried to get penetration and forget about contain, Cap made them pay for it. In my estimation, the big X factor in this game for the Seattle Seahawks, the guy we think is the biggest chance to make a difference in this game, is Cliff Averill. Averill is going to be lined up against Eric the Revolving Door Pears, which what that means is that Pears has to have the game of his life, or he is basically going to have a tight end next to him or a fullback behind him for most of the day. Here is where I believe the 49ers are going to have a shot. Marshawn Lynch is nicked. He has not run well all year long.
Yeah.
He has not looked like a stud runner all year long. And since Fred Jackson decided to play Evel Knievel and smash his Corvette into a stop sign...
They weren't drag racing, though, I'm sure.
Oh, they weren't drag racing. No, not at all.
No.
That means you've got undrafted rookie Rawls. Thanks so much for the half a freaking fantasy point last week. And you've got nicked up Marshawn Lynch, rotten offensive line. I wonder if the Seahawks are missing Unger. You think?
A little bit.
Little bit. Right. So I think that there's an opportunity for these teams to really butt heads and be evenly matched in the field. What needs to happen for the 49ers to win, and I think this is going to happen, they have to get the ball deep. They've got to stretch that defense vertically, and I believe they can do that.
Okay.
The next thing that needs to happen, and this is critical, I don't want the 49ers to blitz and rush and get crazy with pressure on Russell Wilson. I think the 49ers need to flatten out their pressure packages and really put emphasis on maintaining contain. Once you get your edges set, you send one guy after Wilson. Don't send 5 guys after Wilson, because that's when he shakes loose and stretches a play into freaking 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden he throws a Hail Mary on 4th down and you lose the game.
Take away his right side.
Bingo. I believe the San Francisco 49ers are going to win this football game. Straight up. I definitely think they're going to beat the spread. Yeah. I think that this game ends up, give me the under. I think it's a 20-17 football game. I think the 49ers win it in the 4th quarter.
And you know what? I didn't give you a score. I'm actually going to flip that same score to Seahawks winning by 3, 2017.
Well, all right. I guess we know who really likes the 49ers and who's just a week-over-week sellout.
That's cheap. That's a cheap shot.
In any case, thanks so much for watching. This has been Upon for the Review. My name is AJ Bolino.
My name is Diego Del Barco.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Yes, we will.